Hey, greetings to my favorite group in the Highlands Ranch. Welcome to this little video time. I'm Randy Justin. Great to have another chance to be with you again. Hope all is well for everyone. Today we're going to talk a bit about the book of Philippians. Philippians is a New Testament book written by the Apostle Paul. Paul wrote this book after his experience in the city of Philippi. You can read about some of his experience in Philippi. It happened during his second missionary journey. You might remember that Paul made three very significant missionary journeys, mostly moving from town to town to be able to plant churches, always with the same strategy, going first to the synagogue, preaching to the Jews, getting thrown out of the synagogue, preaching to the Gentiles in the streets or wherever he had an opportunity. Quite often being imprisoned or creating some kind of disruption. And you can read about his visit to Philippi in the book of Acts in chapter 16. Chapter 16 has this account of the disruption that happened in the city of Philippi. But as Paul then writes to this group of folks in the city, a place where he's already been, he's writing to them from prison. He's in Rome. It's toward the end of his life. It's about 61 AD. So if you think about the life of Jesus, sometimes we think Jesus, born in the year 0, but it really wasn't 0. Probably wasn't somewhere between 2 and 6 in the process. If Jesus lived to be 33 years old, let's say that the crucifixion was in year 34, 35, something of that sort. And so this is about 30 years after the resurrection of Jesus. Paul has been a dedicated follower of Christ. He's getting a little older. He's in prison now, and he's writing back to the people of Philippi. And his primary objective in writing to them is to encourage them and to be joyful to them. He encourages them and says thanks to them for a special offering that they provided for him. The book is authored by Paul, but it's co-authored by his co-worker Timothy. If you read the first chapter, you'll see Paul and Timothy working together to be able to give this message of hope. And probably the most significant part of the book of Philippi comes in chapter 2, where we have this beautiful hymn that is inserted. It's a hymn that would have been very familiar to the people of the day. It would have been a hymn that would have been used for worship. It's a hymn that exalted the name of Jesus and identified Christ as the center part of the Christian community. And so the little hymn reminds us about Jesus, who was willing to suffer. Let me share with you this. He says, who being very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be grasped, but rather he made himself nothing, taking on the very nature of a servant and being made in human likeness, being found in the appearances of man. He humbled himself and became obedient to death, even death on a cross. Therefore he exalted himself to the highest place and gave the name that is above every name, that at the name of Jesus every knee should bow in heaven and in earth and under the earth, and every tongue acknowledge that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. That's a beautiful, beautiful little hymn that describes the nature of Jesus. There are lots of other passages that are familiar in the book of Philippians, but as one of the prison epistles, the letters that he wrote during the time that he was in prison, it carries with it a different kind of impact. He's writing to the end of his life, knowing that this is probably the last time he's going to have the opportunity to communicate with this particular group of people. And he sends them his great blessings and his greetings. As you read it, you'll discover a number of passages. For me to live is to live for Christ. To die is to gain. That's a beautiful, beautiful passage. He says, whatever I suffer now, I suffer not for a loss, but I suffer for Christ. He says, rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I say, rejoice. He says, don't be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, offer yourself to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds. Great blessings that come from the book of Philippians. As you read it, you want to read it devotionally so that it speaks directly to your heart. You want to read it in the context to which it was originally written, as a letter from prison from the Apostle Paul to a group of people who had been persecuted and who were being encouraged to be joyful in their lives. But you also want to read it from your point of view, from your situation, from your circumstances, and allow it to speak to your daily life. Allow it to be an encouragement to you. That's the way it was intended, to be a message with a blessing. And the blessing is that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. And that at the name of Jesus, every tongue will confess, every knee will bow, because Jesus is Lord of all. I hope that you will enjoy your exploration of the book of Philippians, and that you will experience the fullness of the love of God as you do so. May God bless you and keep you, cause his face to shine upon you, and to grant you peace. Hope to see you real soon. God bless.